looking for my phone. Oh, it's charging. Alright. Okay, I'd like to talk about a super conscious dream state that I've been able to tap into that isn't dreaming, though. It doesn't feel like dreaming. It feels more like consciousness than dreaming, but you still get the abilities of dreaming. You still get the abilities of lucid dreaming, astral projection, all that kind of creative capacity, right? So this only happens. Maybe it'll happen differently in the future, but as of right now, it's only happened to me in a specific scenario. And that is when I've smoked marijuana that has sativa, dominant, up the wazoo, close to 100% on that side of the scale of things, right? So mostly mental high. So basically, if you haven't smoked marijuana, it's the sativa high that I'm describing is an increase in cognitive, creative capacity, right? So anything that you go into, visualizations, what you commonly think of as people tripping out, or if you think of hallucinations, a lot of times people make videos and say, hey, look at this is like what this is like, LSD, this is what this is like, mushrooms, this is what this is like, and they show it in a video and in visualizations, right, in patterns and all that kind of stuff. So the creative capacity was elevated within myself through this tool, right? And when this happens, when I get to this elevated dream state, so I call it, I'd rather much call it a conscious state that has dream abilities, because it doesn't feel like a dream, and I'm more conscious than in a dream. If you've ever lucid dreamt, you'll probably agree with me that you're 99% lucid, where there's still a piece of you that is uncertain about what's going to happen in the dream, or you're not completely clear. But this is different. This is where you are 100% clear, and the abilities come in with you and for you, right? So it's not a thing where you realize it in a state of confusion. You don't come about it within a dream, which is lucid dreaming. It's more like astral projection, I gotta say, but it's in here. It's internal. It's going within. It's not going out like astral projection. So it's kind of like ibogamine versus ayahuasca, going internal versus external, right? If you're thinking of different drugs, psychedelics. So this is the thing here. The process that I get to go to this dream state has been the same. I've been seeing the same pattern. I've been seeing the same tunnel. I've been seeing the same eyeball. Yes, this is the same scenario as entering the eye, like I said in a different video, but I drew it very simplistically, and this is the basic fundamental pattern. I'll show it to you guys. All right. So when I first lay down, and this arises from a meditative state. This arises from me laying down sativa high and meditating. And just a cool little thing, it was instant the last time. I laid down and I get into my preferred position, and waza, it's in my face, and I can go through the tunnel, right? So this is the first symbol that I see off in the distance, but it's still kind of close to me, right? It is this. Okay? Kind of like an infinity sign, but it's blocked out. It's a blocky, it's this. I did this really well. I don't know how I did it, but like specifically this length to this length, these angles, it's pretty dang close to this, right? And in this center here, there's an eyeball. I didn't draw it, and most of the time it isn't really clear, but I know there's an eyeball, and I know there's a gateway at this crossing point. And the first time I ever experienced this, I saw the eyeball before I saw this symbol, and now that when I see the symbol, I know that there's an eyeball there, I know that there's a tunnel there, and I go into it, right? I don't know what this means internally, but I see this first. And then, if you blow this cross section up, there's usually a tunnel, right? Now I say there's an eye there. The eye is always there. It's always a fleeting destination where you go through this little X, you go through the tunnel. You can always tell that there's an eyeball there, and I think that's symbolic of the third eye. I don't really know, but I'm going to treat it as that for now. So the eyeball is always fleeting, but it is there. So when you blow this up, it ends up turning into this. So that cross section, if you go back to that cross section, it looks like, like that. Except now there's a tunnel. There's usually, and I don't know how I did this, but this dimension is really nice because it's not a square. Most of the time, I say that it's either a square, a rectangle, or a hexagon tunnel, and it's blocked off in sections. Like how when you go through tunnels in your mind or wherever else, you know how it looks, right? It's off in the distance when you're going through it. It's like a constant snaking of your vision, and you're going through the tunnel. Except this is a blockiness. This is like squares or rectangles, three-dimensional cubes is a cuboidal tunnel. That section, it's section, and it snakes in your vision, right? But it's a sectional, mathematical, patternized thing. So this is really, honestly, the most common thing that I've seen is this type of dimension too, where it's slightly larger on the bottom, latitudinal versus this. So this is what it turns out, and the eyeball is again still in the center, but it's a fleeting thing, and you have to go through the tunnel to get to the eyeball. And when you get out of this tunnel, it's just how I'd imagine in movies, or how I'd imagine personally, but it's in movies where you just pass the event horizon of Earth's planetational gravity, where you don't go back into it, and everything starts to float in the space. You get out of our atmospheric pull, our gravitational pull. It's not atmospheric. And in the movies, there's this change where everyone's like, oh my God, we're sitting in a rocket chair, and then all of a sudden it's like, whoa, I'm in space. I don't know if that's just like 2000s movies, if that actually happens or not, but that's what it feels like when you get out of this tunnel. And then, if you've ever seen the movie The Sphere, I think it's called, there's people who come up to this weird alien-like sphere, and it's gold and it's metallic looking, and that's kind of like what this eyeball is. You go right through the tunnel, you get into this state of floatiness, and you're here. You're in the ultimate state of density that is perceivable, and you're met with this eyeball that is in your face. It's like whoa, like a skyscraper, but curved and three-dimensional, and you're met with this material creative capacity. And either you can look through the eye, which I didn't know was possible, because all of my other experience I've gone into it, which I think you can actually look through it and just kind of peep through it and look through the glass. It's like looking through a window, I suppose. But most of the time I go into the eyeball, and what happens? This is the creative thing here. This is the elevated creative capacity state, where it's completely conscious, completely conscious. And Sativa really helps with realizing, like real creating, it's real actualizing. There we go. That's a better word. Playing with language here. So in this state, it is so real that whatever you want to create, it feels, if you put yourself in there, if you put yourself in the place, if, for example, I experienced hugging somebody, very vivid, okay? That's all I'm trying to say. There's extremely amplified state of consciousness that you have the dreamlike abilities, but it's so close to reality that it's kind of undistinguishable. And this is what I'd imagine, I think people think that I'm like a mastered astral projection. I'm not. I've only done it 2 times. So this is what I'd imagine astral projection to be like, where it's super vivid. And I wonder, I wonder if this is a first stage within my own transition into being able to astral project more or something. I don't know, but it's what I'd imagine to feel if I were to astral project often and very vividly and get really good at it. So it's a crazy crazy little continuation that continues to happen to me. The same patterns, the same tunnels, the same eyeball, the same texture of the images that I create. Or the reason I call this a dream state is because you can allow it to create too. You have the control to either do it yourself, to make whatever occur in this plane of fabric. You can do that, or you can allow something else to do it for you, or whatever it is. I don't know. And it's really cool. It's so vivid, very, very vivid. So I wonder if anyone else gets these patterns. I don't know. It's kind of like an infinity sign. I just feel like this has so much. I don't know if this is just because I've experienced it, but this image just looks very masculine and perfect. Like if you were to think of a feminine infinity sign, it's all smooth, right? And this is masculine. It's a block at the end, two counterbalanced weights perfectly in simultaneous existence at a hinge point, equiangular. It's just it's just really nice. I don't know. It's just it's just I don't know. Okay. Experience 101. I suppose that's all I have today.